So I went on to the restaurant business. I was in the restaurant business in my teens and worked a lot of different jobs. And but around one time I was 20 years old, 21 years old, I was opening restaurants. I was opening macaroni grill restaurants in South Florida, and it was a pretty new fad at that time. Everybody was excited about the Brinker Corporation. Norman Brinker was the owner. He owned all the Chili's and macaroni grills and all those things. So he did very well. And I learned a lot from him too. He was a wonderful man. Talk about ultra wealthy, but ultra humble. He was very humble, very polite, very kind man. And as a young guy, just trying to what do I do? Having this sense of urgency, but not knowing where to go. I learned a lot from him, just watching him, observing him when he would come in and stuff. Always polite. So we opened macaroni grills, and I was approached to become a manager at that time. And
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I've got a good friend of mine here, Christopher. We met at a conference. We're also in real estate, doing the everyday multifamily, creating wealth for others. And today, Christopher came on the show to tell us all about what he's doing. He is the founder of Blue Sky Capital Partners. Very proud of this man for what he's done, and I can't wait to hear more about his story. So, Christopher, kick it off, my friend.
Hey, well, thanks, man. Eddie, I appreciate you having me on today. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Yeah, we started off in talking about real estate. It's how we met up. And I want to go ahead. I guess you want me to start by just talking about who I am and where I'm from. I was born and raised in Huntington, Long Island. I won't tell you how many years ago, but it's been a while.
Don't want to date yourself, right?
And yeah, so I grew up the second of four kids. Typical, I think we didn't have a lot of money. My mother and father got divorced when I was around 7 years old. I was very fortunate, though, to have a mom that, she worked 3 and 4 jobs to support us. And she met a wonderful man around the time I was probably 11, 12 years old. And he really stepped in as the father figure for me. And made all the difference in my life. Taught me what it really meant to be a man. And so I'm very grateful for that. I always knew that I was, different. I knew that I wasn't going to work a 9-to-5 job. I knew that I didn't fit that normal, in the box, that type of thing that school teaches you, traditional school. I was, B at best, maybe A in gym class, and maybe C in everything else, right? But I knew I wanted to do something great. I knew I was meant to be here and to do something great with my life and to affect people in a positive way. So I went on to the restaurant business. I was in the restaurant business in my teens and worked a lot of different jobs. But around one time I was 20 years old, 21 years old, I was opening restaurants. I was opening macaroni grill restaurants in South Florida. And it was a pretty new fad at that time. Everybody was excited about the Brinker Corporation. Norman Brinker was the owner. He owned all the Chili's and macaroni grills and all those things. So he did very well. And I learned a lot from him too. He was a wonderful man. Talk about ultra wealthy, but ultra humble. He was very humble, very polite, a very kind man. And as a young guy, just trying to what do I do? Having this sense of urgency, but not knowing where to go. I learned a lot from him, just watching him, observing him when he would come in and stuff. Always polite. So we opened macaroni grills, and I was approached to become a manager at that time. And at that time, it would have been more money than I'd ever seen in my life.
Sure.
And I turned it down. I said no, because I saw how many hours the managers in the restaurant were working. They were working 80 plus hours and they had no life. And I said, there's got to be a better way than this. There's got to be a better way. I didn't know what it was yet, but God had a better plan, because literally the next week, within 7 days, a man came into the restaurant with his wife for dinner, and he started asking me questions that nobody had ever asked me before. Things like, hey, how long have you been here? You do something else? Hey, what is it that you enjoy doing? And I could see you're really good with people. And so what he was doing is he was recruiting me into his business.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was a financial services business. I knew nothing about financial services. I knew nothing about how money worked or how, I just knew how to talk to people. I knew how to communicate and build rapport. Beyond that, I had no skill in the business world. And he took me under his wing, taught me everything that he
Wow.
knew, and gave me an opportunity to, open my own business. And I did just that. 21 years old, I was able to open a full service financial services firm, and we did all types of insurances, investments, mortgages, you name it. And I hired quite a few people to help me do that and build that business. So it was great. 16 and a half years, something like that. We were in business, and I'm so grateful for the foundation that it gave me, not only in finances, but in life, in spending time across the kitchen table with people, getting to
Yeah.
know them and their challenges and their joys and the challenges that they have. And it was just a great education for me in life.
I want to back up for a minute because,
Sure.
oftentimes it's so important to know where we're supposed to be. And it's just as important as where you are and as where you are not.
Oh, yeah.
And, if you would have took that management position, like there had to be something that was telling you that that wasn't you. And very wise on your part to be able to peer into a situation, to peer into somebody else's employment and say, that's not for me. Working all the hours, the money wasn't important to you, apparently, because there was a much larger figure there, but you just knew that that wasn't for you. And let's just say if you would have took that position, you wouldn't even have been at the restaurant when this gentleman and his wife would have came in the door. And there you were. And, it's kind of like divine intervention. It was everything was meant to be, but you listened to the signs, and it sounds like you said, gracefully, I can't accept that position, for management, and just not where I'm supposed to be. And, I think that's a lesson learned in itself, because so many people, they jump for the tune of money. And oftentimes they get really far down that road, and they get very, very upset with the way things are going because it's all about money. There's no passion behind it, and they burn out. And you're just chasing the dollar. And I just highly wouldn't recommend that. I would enjoy, if you can live on $30,000 and enjoy the journey, then do that. It's better than $80,000 and working 80 hours a week and hating every day of your life.
Yeah.
So wise on your part to what was the timing like during that time? Was you reading any financial books? Was you reading any self-help books? Like, let's peer into your life at that point, because something gave you the wisdom
Sure.
to say no, which is
Sure.
the
Sure.
hardest thing to do. Like most people are like, yes, 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 but you were like, no. So
Yeah.
let's peer into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was broke. I was 20 years old. I was broke. I was opening restaurants for them in the South Florida area, and then in the off time, I was waiting tables. So I was a server, but then I would wait tables, and then we would open restaurants. So we'd go away for 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, like that, and to go to the location every day. So, and it was exciting. Obviously, you're young and exciting. You get a group of people together. It's a big party, basically.
Sure.
So it was fun times. I had relationships with the managers. I had relationships with all of them. I watched the GM of the restaurant and how stressed he was,
Hmm.
and then how stressed everybody would get when the district manager would walk in. Everybody's on eggshells and stuff, and I'm like, "Hey, man, how you doing?" And everybody else is like, "What are you talking to him for?" I'm like, "What do you mean? He's just a guy." Like, you know what I mean? Like, we put people on pedestals and stuff, especially when we're in that age bracket. I think maybe not so much anymore. I don't see the youth maybe acting the way we did, but
Yeah.
they're a little bit more brash than we were. But the truth is, it was tough, man. It was difficult, and I can tell you right now, I remember what they offered me. They offered me $38,000 plus bonus, and it would
Yeah.
have been like 50 grand a year, and that's a lot of money for a 20-year-old kid that is just waiting tables and just trying to get by. I was living with my brother and his fiance, and it was the three of us in an apartment. And when I first started in that restaurant, I didn't even have a car. I would take the bus to school,
Yeah.
bus to work, and it was tough, man. It was hard. I don't know how else to tell people how to get through that, but you have to get through it. Like,
Yeah.
you have to find the best possible outcome in your mind in order to get through those times, because I knew that there was something better for me on the other side. I just didn't know what it was.
Sure.
And then even when I started and I said no, obviously things changed in the restaurant. They didn't like me as much. And so I get, I'd get less favorable sections in the restaurant, or they'd give me
Mhm.
a hard time about simple little things, and I started catching on to it. And I said, okay, it's almost time for me to move forward here, from
Yeah,
here,
absolutely.
you
You
kind of
know,
get the kick.
yeah, of course. And the magical part about that at 20 years old is even at the money, you didn't jump on it. And you had this relationship with these people in the restaurant that you could see their life. And it was just, you knew that wasn't it. And then it was just that blessing that came to you that this gentleman walks in with his wife and boom, here you are. So let's go down that path for a minute. Like, was it just pure bliss, excitement? Like, did you know at that very moment that this was what you were waiting for, or what was it like?
Yeah, yeah. When I went in, and I sat down with him, and yeah, God definitely sent him. There's no doubt about it. God definitely sent him at that moment, and it was meant to be, because we sat down. I learned some things I'd never known before. Things like the rule of 72. The power of compound interest, right? How interest rates work, how mutual funds work, how insurance works.
Hmm.
Gosh, I didn't know anything about insurance. And there is a right kind and a wrong kind, right? And then there's then how mortgages work. All
Yeah.
things that we probably should have learned in school,
Yeah.
instead of them, teaching us about stuff that we still have never used, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
and that's, that curriculum, obviously. So the curriculum of your life is really finance, because finance controls everything in your life, directly or indirectly. It does. And most people never get a handle on it. They never get an understanding. And there's two sides. There's the financial part that we think of, and then there's the psychology of it, and then the relationships from the psychology of finance.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
there's so much to it that people just don't really spend time to like sit down and think about. But the more you know, the better decisions you can make, and the better decisions you make, the better your quality of life will probably be. I know a
Of
lot of
course.
people. I know a lot of people that make a lot of money. They have no time. Then I know a lot of people that have no time. They have a lot of time, but they make no money.
Right.
So you want to find the balance, right? You want to find that balance of, yeah, I want to make enough money to go ahead and take care of my family, and to feel like I don't have to worry about every single little thing, right? To know that everything's taken care of, your kids are taken care of, right? Wife, everybody's taken care of. But at the same time, have freedom to like experience life with them, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's something that is invaluable, has been invaluable for me. And so every chance I get, I want to go ahead and share that with folks, and try to help them in any way I can. I am pure servant leadership. So whatever I can do to make a difference in somebody else's life, I am there, no questions asked.
I love that, man. Thanks for sharing that. And I think that there is so many people that they don't take that moment to say it's not about the money. It's about stewardship. It's about having time to serve my loved ones, my family, to be there for them, and to realize that if you did say yes to this opportunity, it could remove all of your time. But another thing that I'm a huge proponent of is temporary pain. Sometimes we absolutely have to go through something to get to the other side of it. It's like just a necessary evil. And, some of us get stuck in the revolving door of this pain point and become to where they just get stuck in it and they just can't. It's like going in a revolving door and they find no exit,
Yep,
and they just get stuck in the loop. Right?
that's
And
right.
it seems that many people struggle today with the victim mentality of all this is happening because of me. But these things, it sound like you were understanding they were happening for you,
Yes,
not to you.
yes.
And you were able to say, you know what, I'm going through this, but there's another side. So what was the thought process during that time
Yeah,
to know that?
absolutely. Absolutely. Gosh, I have so much on this, because when the same thing keeps happening over and over again, and you're like, what's going on? I don't understand. What do I need to do?
Yeah.
And that's just God's telling you that you're doing it wrong, right?
Yeah.
And he's teaching you a lesson, right? And he's telling you that, hey, listen, this is going to keep coming up until we get the understanding, right? Until we
Hmm.
get the knowledge, the information, right? We have to learn that lesson, whatever that lesson is. And then you'll be able to ascend. You'll be able to move forward. And that's truly what happens. Is you can be in that revolving door like we talked about, and you decide how long you're going to be there. It's up to you. You decide,
Yeah.
no one else. And then the victim mindset, of course, comes in. And that's, perpetrated now also by society, by the media, and by everybody else, where, oh, well, if you're like this, then this is the box that you fall into. And that, what a mistake that is. I think that's such a disadvantage, such a disability that people are given. And it's not fair. It's not right. Everybody
Right.
has an equal opportunity to do whatever it is that they want to do. And there's too many examples of that for that not to be true. Right.
So true.
In every walks of life. So, and I love the community that we're part of in multifamily. Really, by and large, a great group of people that are just opportunity minded, and they don't let the societal norms and all the nonsense that goes on dictate where they're going to wind up. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for
Well, yeah.
being part of that.
Yeah, there is. I think it's because there's so much abundance in multifamily, money to be made, that people don't need to be greedy. So I think that you have a different environment there. Gosh, 20 plus years ago, I did single family, and man, single family was like a bidding war. And
Yeah.
there was certainly its bidding war days in multifamily pre-COVID.
Yep.
But, if you knew your niche and you stayed in it and you had a deal and you were having trouble closing it, or, something was going on and you knew another partner, it was always somebody was willing to jump in and help, or, they would find a way to get creative to help. That's the really cool thing about multifamily. And I think it really spurs down to abundance
Yeah.
and people that understand how it works, and the money that it can create for the investors and for the sponsors and for the general partners. All of those people can feed off of that one deal. And, as long as nobody gets greedy, we certainly got to watch out for that. But yeah, it's just such a great place to build wealth. And let's be honest, most people come into it thinking it's like the microwave society of instant, hit the button, 30 seconds later, it's done, and you make $1 million. You certainly could flip something and make a short term, but it's real long-term wealth play.
Definitely. So I didn't mean to get off into the other subject, but I did
No,
wanted to
no.
go. I just wanted to praise the community for a moment. That's
Yeah,
all.
no, I get it. I get it. So let's go back to, is there anything else? It sounds like you realize that every single day you were picking up your pen and you were moving it, and you were writing your book, you were writing your documentary of your life, and you realized that at some point.
Yes.
So is there anything else that you would touch on in that subject?
Well, I mean, I would say that my foundation is God, and my foundation in an early age was, were my parents, and
Mhm.
just watching the example that they set. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't all, rainbows and unicorns, man. It was hard work. It was tough. It was watching people do difficult things on a daily basis.
Yep.
It's watching people survive on a daily basis, and watching the work ethic that it takes, the mental fortitude that it takes, and just finding a reason bigger than yourself to keep going another day.
That right there.
And
That right there.
everybody has their, I mean, my father, which was my stepfather, but he's a Vietnam veteran. He was a mechanic in the army. He was the guy that had to run in the field and fix the truck while they were shooting at him.
Yeah.
Everybody covered him. He's underneath the truck, right, in
Yeah.
the middle of a field, and he would tell me some of the stories. And then I watched him, just watching him, observing him every day, and what he would do to go out and make money was just remarkable. And then just listen to the little lessons, and I paid attention. I wasn't the kid that said, "You're full of crap." You don't. I know more than you. I wasn't that kid. I was the one. Teach me. Like, I'm
Mhm.
here. I want to learn. I'm ready. Like, I'll soak it up like a dry sponge, man. I'm ready.
Yeah.
And again, that's just how I was, how I'm made, how I was. Again, watching everybody else around me, even my family, my extended family, just all the mistakes that people make. All the things that they do that just aren't like productive to anybody. So I think that's what separated me. I was a good listener when I was young. Instead of being outside with all the other kids playing, I was inside listening to the adults, bitch complain about everything.
Yeah.
And, this one
Well,
and that one, and learned a lot of lessons from that.
good listeners keyword. That's the pro tip. Sometimes there's a difference between listening and active listening. And it sounds like you were actively listening. You were taking it in. You were asking the right questions, maybe 2 or 3 level deep questions like, "Hey, why did you do it that way? Teach me what you did right there. There's something that I didn't see that you did." And that's so important, because I think for me, the biggest thing has been it's what I didn't know that cost me the most.
Yes.
And, it's either earned or it's learned.
That's right.
And you can either earn the battle scars, you can learn from a mentor, from a coach, from somebody, that's willing to teach you. And it would greatly remove the battle scars that cost you a lot of money. I always like to say good lessons cost lots, and they usually do. That's the ones you remember.
That's right.
All lessons cost money.
Yeah.
And so through this active listening, who was your biggest mentor?
I mean, at that time, it was definitely my father by far. And there's no question about it. Until I got out into the business world, which he didn't really know much about. He wasn't really a business guy. He was a blue collar guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was some separation there once that took place. But he had prepared me for that. He had gotten me to that point, and now I was ready to move forward and learn something completely different, completely new. I wasn't going to maybe like follow in his footsteps, so to speak, and be an auto mechanic or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have the mechanic mindset, being able to fix things like the way he could with his hands. But I could use my brain. I could use my brain, and I could go ahead and look to go ahead and improve people's situation by taking them through a process. So I got really good at taking people through a process and showing them where they're at and then where they could be, what the possibility could be if they would go ahead and follow through and really just bet on themselves. And it was a psychology class. It was a financial class. It was marriage counseling. It was all kinds of things,
Yeah.
And here I am, a 21-year-old kid sitting in front of people that are twice my age, and I'm teaching them. And so that right there, that's another psychology class in itself where I had to be prepared, right? I had to look the part, and all my mentors would always tell me, hey, you got to show up early, you got to stay late, you got to dress, you got to be the sharpest dressed, you got to know your stuff better than everybody else, because they're going to pick on you. They're going to say, that kid doesn't know what he's talking about. He's only 21 years old. He don't know nothing, right?
Yeah.
And so I had to go through that, and I was happy to go through that. I love the challenge of that, and what a difference we made, for so many people, for thousands and thousands of people over that 16 years. It was incredible, the before and afters and the difference for the people that wanted to, change, for the people that wanted to improve, right? So I was teaching classes as well. I started teaching classes on Tuesdays and Saturday mornings every week. And we'd have about, 20, 30, 40 people show up every week. And it was a good little deal, it was a good little deal. And I feel like it was a good stepping stone for the next thing that came.
Yeah, of course. So, some key words there, some pro tips for people listening. I love pro tips or real talk. The real talk of this is, you showed up like you owned the place by the way you were dressed, and you were dressed for the part. And then you also brought the knowledge and the confidence. And I think there was times you probably had more courage than you had confidence, but
Most definitely.
you had the courage to step out in front and lead, be able to be humble enough to admit mistakes, I would imagine, and then also have some humility there to also realize that you didn't know everything.
Absolutely.
Man, that just Dan, all the listeners listening to this, it's just rewind that last 5-10 minutes and just listen to that, because there's so much golden nuggets in just that right there is just showing up for the part, dressed for the part, dressed to who you want to be, not the guy not the in the position you're in, and leading from the front, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The old saying is that, you have to, some people would say you fake it till you make it and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't fake it till you make it, because I felt like I'd already made it.
That's it.
I was already there. I was already there in my mind. I was already that authority already. Just even in the very, very beginning, when we first started, I just knew a little bit more than most,
Yeah.
and then and what would happen, honestly, is I'd run into people occasionally. I'd sit down with them, and, they knew a little bit more than me. And I would say, oh, wow, that's really interesting. Let me take note of that. Or that's a great question. Let me get you the answer for that. You see?
Yeah.
And those things right there are so powerful. Don't try to talk BS your way through it. Like, tell people, I don't know that. And I can tell people, I can tell you, I don't know that by, hey, Eddie, that's a great question. Let me go ahead and get the answer for that. Let me go ahead and I'll get back to you on that. And people so appreciate the fact that you're transparent enough to say, wow, he's going to get back with me. And then you get right back with them with a sense of urgency And they're like, wow, he really has credibility with me. That's really amazing. And that was a little thing that went a long way in the very beginning.
Well, I think, I wish more people led with integrity in every conversation. And if you don't know, it's what you don't, it's what you do in silence that gets rewarded in public. And so many people, they want to fluff over the top of what's going on there and just hope that they can come back and seem smart enough. But if you just have the integrity to say, man, I don't know.
Right.
But that's a great question. I'll get back to you on that. I'd love to get you the right answer. And I think really people appreciate like you said, the real transparency, the honesty, and that integrity to follow up later on and just tell people, hey, this is what I figured out. They respect you way more, and you earn someone's business instead of try to sell somebody their business.
Exactly right.
So what other lessons? So there's this transitional phase now. They're going towards this multifamily. What lessons was happening in life that the light bulb went off? You're like, I've got to do more. There's something I got to be doing. Just for instance, I know a lot of real estate brokers, and I always, just fear for these people that they live in this transactional state.
Mm-hmm.
Even with an insurance broker, there could be residual income based on their accounts of how long they live and stuff like that. So there's some residual stuff. But as a real estate broker, it's like chasing commission every single day. It's not like you're making any type of residual income. So
That's right.
What was the light bulb that went off for you that you're like, all right, Christopher, it's time to wake up. Financial freedom is just not going to be earned by just not doing nothing. Like you took some actual steps.
Yes. So the beginning of my real estate career, I guess you'd say, was I got licensed I was a licensed mortgage broker, of course, for many years, being on the mortgage side in the business. So I got to see that side of it, and I got to see, closings and everything like that. And so, it always interested me. I was always interested in the business. And I said, as I was transitioning out of that business, out of financial services business, I was looking for something else. And I said, maybe I'll get my real estate license. Maybe I could do that. I could probably do that. And so I got my license, and then I started doing all my research and everything. And I realized I don't really think I want to be an agent. I don't want to do open houses. I'm going to go sit there all day on a Saturday or on a Sunday. What am I doing? And chasing sales and stuff like that. I mean, that I was already in sales for so long, but we led with value, obviously, with the subject matter. With real estate, it would have been real, like pure sales. And so I'm like, I don't know, man. I think, let me see. And so I got turned on because a good friend of mine, a good buddy of mine, he's a real estate agent out in Wisconsin. And he's like, man, listen, these big firms are allowing you to hire people now. Like you can hire agents and stuff, and like you could build your own brokerage. And I go, I like that better. And so I said, I'm just going to go ahead and hire and give the agents a curriculum and give them whatever they need. And I'll just hire them and they can go sell houses and I'll get paid a percentage of it. That's good. And so I started doing that. And honestly, I got bored of it. And I did it. And I had about 7 to 10 agents, doing that. And I gave them all to my buddy in Wisconsin. I said, hey, please take care of them. You're better at this than I am. I found something else. I found multifamily. And he goes, what are you talking about? I go, well, do you remember years ago, I did some consulting work in the off-market space, in the multifamily or medical buildings, different things. And I was just getting buyers and sellers together. That's all I was doing. It's kind of like being like a wholesaler for commercial, right? And that's all I did. I learned a lot also in that instance, but I didn't know anything about multifamily, like how things actually work. I just was good at the negotiation part. So he goes, well, what did you learn? I said, well, I got hooked up with this guy, Tyler, and I jumped into his program and stuff. And I learned so many things that I should have known like many years ago that I didn't know. And so I'm pretty excited about that. I'm going to move in that direction. I think this is going to be great, and that's really what happens. That's the way it went. Then now just building relationships with all kinds of different folks and hearing their story and hearing their motivation and the things that they want to accomplish, that really, it brings like-minded people together pretty quickly.
Oh, it absolutely does. And that's the thing is it's really the magical thing that happens is there's like, again, there's so much abundance there that people can attach to it. People that don't want to be, the open house guy, the guy that doesn't want to be running the multifamily apartment building.
Yep.
can just be the limited partner investor, and they can get their return. They still own a portion of that real estate, but they're a limited partner. Just like the people that do enjoy the doing and the raising capital, the relationship side of the business, they can raise capital and be a part of the general partnership team. The guy that just loves operations, he can be a part of the operations person. And the guy that's got, he's the best at the tasks, the management of the Trello board, the Asana, or, whatever task manager you use. He's your due diligence acquisition guy. He's the guy that just absolutely knows everything that needs to happen, and he just keeps the whole team in check. And that's the amazing part.
Really cool. Yeah. You have all kinds of different folks with different talents, different skills, and everybody can come together and do their part.
Absolutely. So, man, what would you tell anyone that's getting started in real estate right now, especially multifamily? What would be your words of advice for them?
I would say, well, this is with anything, not just real estate. I would say make sure you set goals. Start with the end in mind. I want you to reverse engineer everything.
Yep.
I want you to start with the end in mind. I want you to think about what you want the outcome to be, and then I want you to set some goals. I want you to break them down to something that you believe, and then I want you to actually take massive action. Take massive action. Don't dip your toe in. Like, take massive action on that plan, and start with the first achievable step, whatever that is. I would call them like little mini wins along the way. And because everybody's going to start at a different place, right? I mean, people come into this thing, different education levels, different mindsets, different financial backgrounds, all kinds of things that play a role in how fast you can go, right? But everybody can go fast on knowledge, right? Everybody can go fast on learning, right? So yeah, break it down, figure out your plan, set those goals, and then just take massive action. Knock it out of the park.
I love that. So we'll move into the lightning round of things. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready.
All right. Number one book that changed your life.
Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill.
Oh, man, I love that. I'm a huge Napoleon Hill fan.
Yeah, I mean, thoughts are things. Thoughts are things.
Absolutely. Let's give it a test. So what's your favorite quote?
Oh, gosh. And I've read it 20 or 30 times. I don't even have a favorite quote from his book. I don't even know off the top of my head.
Any quote that comes to mind. What's one of you put in your daily mantra? What do you put in there?
Well, what I do is I do affirmations. So, I mean, I learned a lot on the affirmation side of that book. And I always speak in abundance. I always speak in definiteness.
Yep.
So, I am abundant. I'm surrounded by abundance. Everything that I touch turns out in my favor. And along those lines, everything is always abundant mindset.
How are you applying AI to your daily life?
ChatGPT is a pretty good friend of mine right now.
Yeah.
I do rely on ChatGPT for a lot of different things. What it does is it allows me to expand on the thoughts that I have. So the different ideas and things that I have and the things that I'm looking to do. And it just gives you a way to go ahead and create that idea, really to lay it all out so that now you can maybe see a couple more stairs of the staircase, right?
Of course.
So it's definitely playing a pretty good role in my life right now.
What would you tell your younger self?
You're going to make it. You're going to make it.
I love that.
It may not feel like it right now, but you're going to make it, man. You're going to get through it. It's going to be all right.
Man, I love that. That's a good one. Yeah. Where can where can these listeners find you? What's the best place to find you?
You can find me on Facebook, of course. You can find me on Instagram. Where else am I? That's pretty much it. I mean, Facebook, Instagram. Right now, we're working on a few other things. Blue Sky Capital Partners. You can check us out there. You can even go to my personal Facebook. Just type in my name. You'll find me. In addition to stuff that we didn't even talk about, which we won't get into, but I have other businesses on the other side as well. I have a business in the legal field that does real well. And it gives me the ability to do this kind of stuff, to have the freedom enough to buy into deals and spend my time learning and growing with, folks like you.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, man, if there's anything else you want to share, the mic is yours. You're welcome to it. But other than that,
I have one last thing.
And I did for it.
In all my experiences so far in multifamily, we bought into a few deals and I learned an awful lot of information. I wrote down a lot of information. And then what I did is I took all that info and I put it in a book. So I wrote a book. It's called Investment Myths Demystified, and you can find it on Amazon. It is a resource guide. So it is not like a novel where you sit down and read it from
Yep.
cover to cover, you will
Yep.
fall asleep. Okay. It's a resource guide. So I know my engineers that are listening to this know all about resource guides. And if you are somebody that's just starting out, that's newer on the newer side, and this book will help you if you get stuck or when you get stuck. You can just go right to the part wherever you are and just read up on that chapter, and it will help you get through your hard time and get you over the hump. So check it out.
Yeah. So listeners will have all the links to Christopher's Facebook page and his website, along with the link to his book. So we'll make sure that we put that link in the description of this video, so you can click that link and go get that expert guide to where you need to be at. It sounds like Christopher put in some time with it. And if I know anything about Christopher, he did a great job putting that together. So we look forward to seeing you all on the next episode. Christopher, this has been absolutely amazing. Again, go check out Christopher with everything he's doing. Super cool guy. If you ever meet him in person, highly recommend getting connected with him and joining him on the journey of multifamily.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome.